In our first story, Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, Kristalina Georgieva, says she is optimistic Ghana's external creditors would fast-track activities to secure the necessary financing agreements to secure the $3 billion bailout as soon as possible. Ghana is hoping to seal those assurances as talks enter a second straight week. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta led a team of Ghanaian officials in Washington, D.C., expecting to use conversations on the sidelines of the just-ended spring meetings to get the necessary buy-in of all the partners.
We have worked very hard and very swiftly to have the program for Ghana, $3 billion support program for Ghana in place. We have been urging Ghana's creditors to act swiftly. My appreciation for also the proactive role of the Minister of Finance of Ghana in reaching out to creditors. We are expecting that next week there will be discussions among creditors, and I can tell you that I use every opportunity myself to urge them to act swiftly. A country that has long track record of sound macroeconomic management ought to be supported to return to markets. So our program is a bridge for Ghana, and to tell you the truth, I'm actually quite optimistic. I think Ghana is going to move. The creditors are going to move, and we are going to move swiftly.
Well, Ghana is securing or continuing meetings with the external creditors in a final push to secure the necessary financing agreement for bailout. Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah says government hopes to meet the May timeline set to secure the IMF program after missing earlier timelines to get the board approval.
To the glory of God, the Republic of Ghana was able to conclude the staff level agreement before 31st December last year. So that timeline was not missed. The second timeline that was given was that having concluded the staff level agreement, we need to complete the prior actions so that our agreement can be taken to the IMF board for board approval by the end of March. Now, those prior actions are not actions that the government or the executive branch suo motu can execute. The government on its own cannot finish all of those prior actions. You need other people to come together to work with you to meet those prior actions. One of those prior actions, for example, was about the passage of some 3 revenue bills in Parliament. And you know that no matter how the executive branch pushes through, you will still need the collaboration of Parliament to be able to pass those. You need, for example, to put in place a debt restructuring program, domestic and external. The domestic may be within your contemplation, but you recall that you cannot force anybody. It's a voluntary exercise that people have to participate in. And if you are not getting the participation and you're having to roll down the dates some more, give extensions, it affects the timeline that you have given. You have external creditors that you have to talk to, those in the Paris Club and those outside the Paris Club, China, India, Saudi Arabia, etc. All of that is not exactly within your domain. But be that as it may, we give ourselves a timeline of by the end of March. Mm-hmm. We should have been able to finish with these prior actions so that we'll be ready to get board approval. That's about 2 weeks since March ended. So it is that timeline that has not materialized at this point in time. Thankfully, all of that work has now been completed. And if you heard the IMF Managing Director herself, she is clear in her mind that Ghana has fulfilled what we need to fulfill and that they can now go to the board and get us board approval.
Well, let's stay on the subjects now. And the Pensioner Bondholders Forum has threatened to resume picketing at the Finance Ministry if government fails to pay the outstanding coupons and principals of bond investments. Members of the forum say they are disappointed in the government's inconsistencies in addressing the matter.
The Finance Ministry, in a press release on Friday, April 14, indicated it had held a meeting with a coalition of individual bondholder groups and the Pensioner Bondholders Forum, in which meeting the stakeholders agreed on a pathway towards the settlement of the outstanding debt service obligations. But the Pensioner Bondholders Forum has denied this, saying no such decision was reached to reconvene the Joint Technical Committee constituted earlier in January this year.
That is not a correct representation of what happened. We never accepted any committee to go and start working and come out with how things are going to be paid.
Members of the forum earlier demanded total exclusion of the investment from the domestic debt exchange program. Despite getting government exemption, their matured coupons and principals are yet to be paid, and they simply cannot hold their peace any longer.
If you subject some people like that to this, you are almost killing them. And I said, it's not right. We shouldn't treat people like that. We'll be there for the whole March. They haven't received it, and up to the end of April, which will be getting to about close to 2 months, So that is not fair, and government shouldn't be treating us like that. So nobody is happy. Nobody is happy, especially because whose coupons are now due.
Okay.
They are in pain.
According to him, he has the option of borrowing from the treasury market to settle their debts. He expressed disappointment regarding assurances to pay them.
We have insisted that we get paid by 28th of this month, or we will resume our picketing. So
Well, the Electricity Company of Ghana says it is considering a 1.2 billion cedi tax offset using the debts of some state institutions to clear tax obligations owed the Ghana Revenue Authority. Now, according to the company, it has so far recovered 2.5 billion cedis out of 5.7 billion debt owed it by customers in its month-long debt recovery, which targeted domestic users, businesses, organizations, ministries, departments, and state agencies for power consumed. Managing Director Samuel Dubik Mahama has reiterated the company's resolve to ensure all debts owed it is fully recovered. Now, the exercise continues until the end of this month. Now, on to some more stories. Residents of Glife, a suburb of the Dansoman in Accra, say they will be joining forces with neighboring communities to promote environmental cleanliness. Now, this follows the discovery of a new mosquito breed in the community by the Ghana Health Service. Stanley Niblew reports.
Ghana is the latest country to have confirmed the invasion of the new mosquito breed, the Anopheles stevensii, after Ethiopia, Djibouti, Somalia, Sudan, and Nigeria. The Ghana Health Service has established presence of this species of mosquito in Tuba and Dansoman, all in the Greater Accra region. The Anopheles stevensii is deemed the most dangerous of all mosquitoes because it produces the deadliest plasmodium called falciparum. I have come to Glife, a suburb of Dansoman, to ascertain how residents are receiving the news about the new mosquito breed and what measures they are taking to protect themselves. Glife, Impoase, and Gbegbeise are densely populated and flood-prone communities of Dansoman, where samples of the new malaria vector were taken from in the Greater Accra region. Insanitary conditions are prevalent in the communities. Gutters are choked with plastic waste, preventing free flow of effluents. Glife is resourced with a lagoon, but the dumping of waste and other negative human activities over the years have shrunk its size. The lagoon has become one major source for breeding mosquitoes aside other stagnant water pools in the community. The invasion of the new breed of mosquito from the communities is of concern to some residents.
For us to hear of a new species of mosquito also in the system, personally, I think it will be a disaster. So I think the Ministry of Health, together with other agencies, should come together and help control the situation on ground. Because mosquito, as we all know, is though a tiny animal, but very deadly. And children die day in, day out because of this malaria issue we have in our system. So personally, it's a threat to humanity.
Ni Akrama, a youth leader, is hearing about the new mosquito breed for the first time.
This is the time one was about to African or Mambi. What we mo mi wakabang mo Mambi ayen. Koni efe koni nuta. Alo efe koni sana ke bola mo. Koni wanye wa clear na kan majani bia ye wasate. Wakana kan bia wasate na kan tontron je ba pete woni. Ambagbe woni. Oh, wa ba fe woni bi fe odogba be na fe. Koni neke elane alo tontron ne ba eko ekasa wo.
Others want public sensitization enhanced.
I think our big men up there, especially those handling our health matters, should not sit on this matter and relax. They shouldn't wait for it to become a pandemic before they rise up to the cause. And I think the assembly, this is something they need to sensitize the people on how dangerous this malaria, this current mosquito that has been discovered is. It's a very, very serious issue. And personally, I think most people don't even know of its existence. And for us to hear, it's very close to us here in Dansoman. Then I think there is fire on the mountain.
According to the World Health Organization, the new mosquito breed is very invasive, spreads faster, and can adapt to myriad climatic conditions. It is projected that the Anopheles stevensii could put an additional 126 million people in Africa at risk of malaria if the mosquito vector were to spread. As a result, the Ghana Health Service has constituted a task force whose duty will be to advise and coordinate measures to address the emerging biological health situation in the country. But a senior research fellow at the West African Center for Cell Biology of Infectious Pathogens, Dr. Yao Eniwe, has urged the public to be calm.
Those who are able to ward off the mosquitoes by using insecticide sprays and all those things, just do that. And when you have fallen sick of malaria and you go to the hospital, finish your dosage. All the malaria interventions are still active and are effective against anything of this nature.
Even though the Ghana Health Service has outlined a number of interventions just to contain the new mosquito breed, the greater responsibility lies with the public to protect themselves by resorting to the use of treated mosquito nets indoors and clearing their surroundings. Currently, malaria remains a major cause of illness and death in Ghana and dominates outpatient department OPD cases in all health facilities across the country. Stanley Nibleu, TV3 News, Glefe, Accra.
Now, away from that, the National Communications Authority has ordered all telecom operators and internet service providers to deactivate a wide range of SIM cards from their network by April 17, that is today. Now, they are also to ensure that it reflects in the Central SIM Registration Database, after which a report should be sent to the regulator latest by Tuesday, April 18.
Coming on the back of recent reports of fraudulent activities where individuals' Ghana cards have been used to register several SIM cards without their knowledge, a letter addressed to the telecommunication companies and signed by Acting Deputy Director General of Technical Operations at the NCA, Professor Osei Abuabuate, seeks to address this challenge. The NTA says all SIM cards which have been disconnected in compliance with the March 31 deadline from their SIM registration databases should reflect in the Central SIM database. The statement tags the telcos to indicate in writing to the NTA by Tuesday, April 18, the total number of SIMs disconnected. The telcos have also been asked to deactivate or remove all SIMs registered up to the limit of 10 from their SIM registration databases, and same should reflect in the Central SIM Register by Monday, April 17. Meanwhile, the major telecommunication networks are entreating all subscribers who have acquired the Ghana card to complete their SIM card registration by Monday, April 17. Those who have registered more than 10 SIMs have also been directed to visit their nearest mobile network operator to urgently verify their SIMs on record.
Now, Parliament's Education Committee is considering inviting the Minister of Education to respond to concerns of some senior high schools converting toilet facilities into dormitories for students due to accommodation challenges. Now, it follows the interdiction of headmaster and senior housemasters of the Ghana Senior High School in Tamale over a viral video which captured some students using toilet cubicles as dormitories.
Accommodation challenges in some senior high schools in Ghana are well documented. It is for this reason the double-track system was introduced in the 2018-2019 academic year to house the numbers under the free senior high school program. However, government says it is phasing out the system because the infrastructure challenges are being fixed. But there are still schools battling serious challenges. One of them is the Ghana Senior High School in Tamale. Some students have been forced to use toilet cubicles as dormitories. Days after the video showing the plight of the students there went viral, the Ghana Education Service has interdicted the headmaster and senior housemaster. A statement signed by Public Relations Officer Cassandra Trum Ampofo noted the Regional Director of Education is to ensure a report of the investigation is presented in 2 weeks. The Ghana Education Service says as far as it is concerned, there are enough accommodation facilities in the school to hold in excess of 1,700 students. Deputy Ranking Member on the Education Committee, Dr. Clement Apak, does not understand why the headmaster has been interdicted.
The decision to conduct an investigation is in the right direction. I have some reservations with regards to the directive that the headmaster and the senior housemaster should step aside. This is not an issue that should request or should require an interdiction. If the investigation is conducted and indeed it turns out that it is as a result of the fault of the headmaster and the senior housemaster and any action is being instituted against them, I wouldn't have a problem with that. But for now, I don't believe that we ought to place the blame entirely on the doorstep of the headmaster and the senior housemaster.
He maintains the issue at Ganasco is not an isolated one. At the WA Senior High School, some students are equally using toilet cubicles as dormitories.
I've seen pictures of the dormitories, their current state, the state in which you people are living in this school. That shouldn't be.
For Dr. Apak, an audit of all the schools is required to understand the extent of the accommodation crisis. He says Parliament's Education Committee may have to invite the sector minister to respond to the concerns.
I think this is a matter that should certainly capture the attention of the committee that I am a deputy ranking member on. And I say so because since that video came out and went viral, I have received reports, although unofficial, indicating that the phenomena that we are witnessing in Ganasco, which has warranted this interaction, is not exclusive to Ganasco. I have received information to the effect that there are other schools where similar facilities that should be serving as toilet facilities and washrooms have been converted to dormitories, or students are living in those spaces as dormitories. So it tells me that the issue is bigger and it is not just confined to Ganasco, and for that reason, the Committee on Education ought to be interested in what is going on as far as our secondary schools are concerned.
Now let's do some foreign news now. In the United Nations World Food Programme has temporarily halted all operations in Sudan after 3 of its employees were killed in clashes between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary rapid support forces. Now the deaths happened during violence in Kibaya in North Darfur, and 2 other workers were injured. Now, the 2 sides in the conflict in Sudan have agreed to a temporary ceasefire so that urgent humanitarian cases can be brought to safety. Sudan's army has been trying to reassert control after a power struggle erupted into clashes that killed 56 civilians and dozens of fighters. The fighting broke out on Saturday between army units loyal to General Abdel Fattah and rapid support forces led by General Mohammed Hamdan, known as Hamiditi. Now, it is first such outbreak since both joined forces to oust President Umar Hassan in 2019. Now, entertainment news, 7-year-old versatile dancer Abigail has won season 14 of award-winning kids reality show Talented Kids. For Emerging Tops, Abigail received a check of 15,000, an educational tablet, 2,000 CDs worth of Indomie products and packages from other sponsors. 5-member model group Fatness Models was adjudged first runner-up and received a check of 10,000 CDs as well as products from sponsors. MFC dancers and singer Rahman emerged second runner-up and third runner-up respectively. And that's all for the news at 6 with me, Judith Awoche Tanda. We'll take a short break. We'll be back with the rest of New Day.